Welcome back to ESA Summer 21, raising money for Save the Children. Links to donate can be found below the stream, and we'd also like to thank Twitch and ViewSonic for sponsoring the event. But now, it's time for Quadraaceps and Sunnymuffin racing Octopath Traveler. Take it away, everyone.
Yep, so hello everyone, I'm Sandrin. This is, my commentator with me will be Lax Lime. And yes, Quadraaceps and Sunnymuffin will be racing Octopath Traveler, so may we know which single story won?
Drum roll, please. It is Haunted.
Ooh,
Alright, Haunted, very nice.
$500.
Interesting choice.
Totally a surprise.
No one saw it coming.
Yep, so Haunted, this is a single story category, which means we begin with the character that we selected, in this case Haunted. So the timer will start when we press yes on begin your adventure, and it'll end on the last cutscene skip. So whenever, is everyone ready? Are we all ready? Alright, so
Yeah, I'm ready.
on go, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, we weren't supposed to go on one? What?
Sunny!
Oh my goodness.
So is Sunny trying to get that 1 second advantage?
He needs it.
He's been doing this all in every practice as well.
Alright, so we're gonna start out with going to the shop here. So we're gonna sell 2 olives here because we need 100 more leaves to buy a wolf bow, because we're gonna need it to deal some damage here. And then we're gonna be skipping some cutscenes, and then we're gonna be immediately be introduced to Haunted's path action. So would you like to introduce Haunted's path action, Lax?
Yep. So each character in the game has a unique path action, which is how they interact with NPCs. So you can do various things. Haunted provokes NPCs, so you can challenge them to fight and sort of attack them with animals. Haunted is our huntress in this game, so she can tame monsters that you fight in battle and then summon them to use in battle. We don't really take advantage of that outside of Chapter 1, but these provokes are kind of designed for us to utilize those monsters in battle. We don't really see them used in outside of story mode too much in this speedrun, but just in general, you can use them to complete side quests or get into certain houses and get items and such.
Yeah, so we start out by beating up 2 of the poor little people in training here. So we use a wolf. So we just defend and break or kill at the or defeat them with the fox, because it's the fastest way. And then now we're gonna make our way through the path of the Whisperwood. So we're gonna start running around here, and we're gonna be introduced to our first encounter here, which is always a raccoon. Oh, caught by surprise. That's unfortunate.
Excellent. That's a good omen.
Let's go.
Good start.
So the runners here are going to choose to break. So as you see, like, they attack once with their boat to break. So as you saw, there's shields on the left, and then when it goes down to 0, they're in a broken state. So they take more damage, and they are unable to take their action. So in this case, we're not going to be using it to defeat them. We're just going to be using it to run away, because we can guarantee us being able to run away when they are broken.
Yeah, as opposed to if we don't break them, then we kind of risk the chance of failing to flee and that costing us time. In the forest here, we're going to run into a forest fox. We're going to actually capture it, and then we'll actually utilize that in the boss fight that's going to come up right now.
As you're going to see here, Sunny's going to attack them with attack to break, and then use Haunted's capture ability. So that also grants us XP, which is pretty cool. And then we're gonna get right into our Chapter 1 boss fight here. So this is Gisarma. He's very chonky.
Yeah, he has a lot of HP for a Chapter 1 boss. But the fight itself is pretty straightforward. You just have to make sure to heal if you need to. We're going to be using these forest foxes to deal damage and break him. And then when he's close to being broken, we're going to use some bow attacks to break him. And when he is broken, we're going to be using a fully boosted True Strike. So that, I guess, segues nicely into the boost point system. So you have these like orange dots on the upper right screen next to like the HP and the SP. You use those to power up your attacks and otherwise augment your abilities. You can use them to attack multiple times in one turn. You generally just accumulate them throughout the battle. You'll get 1 per turn if you don't boost. So that combined with the break system is kind of the backbone of the Octopath battle system. Just making sure to manage your turns and making sure that you're able to break enemies efficiently, while also having boost points to, charge up those really big attacks for when they are broken.
Yeah, so there's a specific reason why we want to use summon here, because as you see, Gisarma kind of like goes to his stance where he's able to counterattack. So we don't want to actually use attacks with Haunted, so we use a fox to attack, which doesn't trigger the counter-attacking mechanism. So Gisarma does quite a bit of damage when he counterattacks, so that's why we use the fox to avoid that. And yeah, another break
there. Bad RNG
with True Strike, and that's a pretty easy kill.
Yeah, so it looks like they both finished chapter 1 at around the same time. It's really nice. So now we're finishing up this chapter, and now that we finished the chapter 1, the world opens up, essentially. You can go pretty much anywhere that's not a strictly story dungeon. But the first thing we need to do is, or I guess the first thing that's on our agenda, is to get access to the support skill called Evasive Maneuvers. Evasive Maneuvers will essentially let us avoid a lot of enemy encounters and let us get to wherever we want to, essentially without running into enemies that could potentially kill us.
Yeah, so you'll notice that so Octopath encounters are on the step-based system, so every time you walk or run, the step counter will decrement down until it hits 0, and when it hits 0, it will show that encounter. It'll decrement faster when you run,
Okay.
and it'll decrement slower when you hide. Oh, hi, kitty.
Oh, you gotta run away from it.
Yeah, so Kates are a really rare encounter you can get. It's about a 3% chance of getting it in most maps. If you are able to kill a Kate in the early game, you can go on a different route. Actually, for Hana, it's a very similar route, but it's strictly faster. I believe Sunny and Quadra have a gentleman's agreement not to kill any Kates if they see them, just to make it a little more competitive.
Yeah, it would put one person like 2 minutes ahead if they were able to get the kill on one.
But if you're grinding for a world record for this category specifically, and for many categories, you need to get a Kate in the early game.
Yeah, you also notice Quadra killed a fox, Snow Fox, on his way, so that gives a nice amount of JP and will make getting evasive maneuvers a little bit easier. So I don't think Sunny got a fox to kill yet, so a little bit unlucky, but that's still okay.
So normally in these speed runs, what we do is we complete the chapter 1 and then we go get Cyrus, because Cyrus is our scholar, and evasive maneuvers comes from the scholar job. But Hana is one of the characters that can actually do this, get evasive maneuvers without Cyrus, because we're gonna go to the scholar shrine right now, which is a job shrine that lets us equip the scholar job on any character. And Hana can make it here to the scholar shrine pretty safely and be able to learn evasive maneuvers herself.
Yeah, so the way they're gonna be able to make it to the scholar shrine without an encounter, which is pretty likely if you run there, so they're gonna provoke the guy around that area, and then when you do a provoke and then you flee from it, it resets your step encounter. So there's multiple different ways of doing it aside from provoke and challenge, which is Ulbricht's path action. So provokes here are pretty useful because we can challenge people of any level, and we can just use it as a free step counter reset, so we don't get any encounters, which obviously we cannot handle here because it's a level 14 area and Han's only like level 3.
Something like that.
Yeah, so they're gonna make their way to Noble Court here while provoking the guy again, since you can't run through the entire area without getting an encounter here. And what they're doing here is they're trying to set up for to get a certain soulstone here, which we'll explain more detail about. Oh, that's bad RNG. Yeah,
that's why you want that screen.
Yeah, even if you provoke them, you can still get the encounter. It's a little rare, but it's not like common. But yeah, you can't survive this, so you gotta just take the L.
Yeah,
so Quadra also mentioned walking. So walking makes it so that the steps decrement a little bit less, so it's a little safer, but of course a little slower.
Yep. Yeah. So
Interestingly enough, this Noble Card encounter, you can actually break it because both of them are weak to bow, and then Hanet has Rain of Arrows, which can target random enemies. So if Hanet hits, because she can hit like 3 to 7 times with Rain of Arrows, if she hits like four times or more, and they happen to go into the correct targets, you can actually break that encounter.
yeah, yeah, it's fine. I've definitely seen it happen before. It's not really something we rely on, but it is something you can just kind of throw as like a last ditch effort. But anyways, they're both grabbing a medium light soulstone, and they're gonna actually use this in a little optional side dungeon nearby called the Whistlewood. Essentially, we don't really need to go super deep in there. We just want to go get one encounter in there and kill it. And if it's the right encounter, we'll be able to kill it and get enough JP in order to learn our skills for evasive maneuvers.
Yeah, the Whistlewood is a pretty infamous place. Almost every single Octopath runner loves and hates it.
There are people who love it.
I mean, for some people, it's probably better than finding the cute little kitty.
I guess. Yeah. Basically, there's many different encounters in the Whistlewood, and there's depending on whether or not you have Lightning Blast, there's either a 25% chance or a 33% chance of getting something that you actually want. There's a bunch of encounters that are just a bunch of frogs. Those you can kill, but they don't give enough JP for Hanet, so they're not really worth killing.
Got it again.
Hey, there's Bandana Frog. But yeah, Quadra got a little unlucky with the encounter, but he got to escape, which is a little rare. But
no.
So we saw worms, but yeah, you can get surprised. So since the Whistlewood's much higher level than you have a decent chance to get surprised. And yeah,
not a good time. Those worms though are what you kind of want to see. Anything worms or those there's like these owls called howlers. If you have Lightning Blast, then that's also a really good encounter.
As long as you don't get ambushed, you can Lightning Blast them and break them and kill them with the Lightning since they don't die to a Lightning. Oh, the same Froggo encounter.
This frog encounter gives the lowest amount of JP.
And it's also really slow to die too, because they have like 3 of these little frogs, frog trees that just buff themselves on the first turn, so you have to wait till the second turn to die.
In other single stories, you're able to actually kill those and just kill things outside Whistlewood, and it's pretty fast, or it's not that slow. But for Hanet specifically, it's kind of a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the encounter pool does shift in the low-level zones, depending if you have 1 character, 2 character, 3 character, 4 character. So
my goodness, add RNG everywhere.
We got the Howlers there, but because we got ambushed, we weren't able to break the Howlers before we could kill them.
I debated taking that, but it would have been painful.
Yeah, since you're only 1 character, you kind of don't want to try to not want to take these encounters because it's going to take you a long time to get the JP that you want. So we need a total of 130 JP for evasive maneuvers. So that's learning 2 skills. And yeah, these frogs won't give you that much. You'll be missing like 30 JP and it's going to take a long time.
I'm glad we're both having bad Whistlewood luck.
Yeah, this is pretty below average. Typically, you would have gotten it by now.
Yeah. So the thing about grinding outside Whistlewood is that the encounters kind of like go up. They become bigger and give more JP when you have more characters. With 1 character, it's very hard to actually farm the remaining JP. But with other categories, let's say you're getting Cyrus second, you actually have ways to kill the encounters outside pretty quickly. And since they give a lot more JP, you can actually get a pretty consistent Whistlewood.
Already Sunny manipulating worms by running around the fire bush. Well,
it didn't work. He didn't do it
work
right
this time.
It's a frame perfect trick.
Yeah. we're doing.
Wait, did you run again?
Yeah, double run.
I've seen a lot of
we're
running.
just back in the forest here. It's a lot of fun.
Leisurely stroll through the woods.
Oh no!
You could probably
wait. Sonny, you don't have.
Oh yeah, you can probably read the
Lightning
donation
Blast
if you
anyways.
have one.
Yeah, no problem. I actually wanted to mention we are less than $150 away, actually $119 away from $21,000
Yo.
Let's get to that.
One of the things that could help us get there is all of us here we don't believe this actually exists, but if you donate $50, you're entered into a drawing to win a PlayStation 5. No one has seen it. It's kind of like the Sasquatch. So you could actually win one. Donate $50 and you'll be entered into that raffle, and you'll help us hit that $21,000 goal.
It could be you.
Get those
Quadra,
donations in.
Quadra gets out of Whistlewood first with the 5 worms.
Yeah,
Very nice.
5 worms is probably the best thing you can get outside of a Kate.
Yeah, they give the most JP, and there's another menu later which like you have to delay if you don't have enough JP. So getting worms there is pretty nice because that pretty much guarantees that I'll be able to do that menu later at the most optimal time.
Yeah. So it sounds like whenever you read donations or mention donations, Quadra gets good RNG. So keep reading them.
I'm here.
But I guess we can kind of talk about the next part of the run. Now that Quadra's out of Whistlewood Purgatory. He's going to be doing what's known as exploration. Going to be just tagging a bunch of towns so we can teleport to them later because you can fast travel in this game. Going to be grabbing a lot of items that we'll need to complete chapter 1s and various boss fights and other fights in this run. And they're also going to be grabbing some job shrines to equip our characters with later.
Yeah, so Sunny's gonna unfortunately opt to take the alternate here, so he's just gonna kill those frogs with the light end and then just take the...
Sunny.
Basically kind of take the L, so he's just gonna kill encounters on his way.
What if the next encounter was the good one?
I mean...
It's always the good one.
Okay, Sunny will find the Kate outside and kill her with Rain of Arrows.
And don't worry, folks, there's still a lot of things that can ruin this run.
Yeah, this game has a lot of RNG. It is a JRPG. There's a lot of things you can do to sort of mitigate the RNG and act in response to it and adapt to different situations. But for some things, you kind of just have to not get unlucky.
Yeah, especially for a single story run like this, because it's so short, the margin for error when it comes to getting a very optimized time is so small that essentially a lot of single story, if you're going for a record time or a really optimized time, it's gonna come down a lot to just getting very optimal luck, more so than longer categories.
Yeah, even though Sunny's still technically in Whistlewood Purgatory, there's a lot of places and a lot of things that can happen where Sunny can catch up. So you might be wondering why there's only not all 8 traveler stories were featured in this Bidwar. So the 4 that we have selected is Tressa, Therion, Ophelia, and Honnet. So the reason why they were chosen for this Bidwar is that each of these characters have a 3 character route attached to them. Because normally back then you would have 4 characters that you would recruit for these speedruns, but for these new routes that have been here since about last year, we've developed the routes that only use 3 characters instead of the 4, and they do come with quite a few very interesting benefits and downsides to it.
Yeah, the main draw of it is that, or there are a few main draws. First of all, since you don't need to collect the 4th character, you don't need to clear their chapter 1, you don't need to collect the resources to finish their chapter 1. And in addition to that, each turn will take a shorter amount of time just because you only have 3 characters to do things with as opposed to 4. The downside, of course, is that you only have 3 characters, so you have to restructure the boss fights. And for some of the boss fights, it doesn't really matter too much, but for a lot of bosses, notably a lot of Chapter 4 bosses, they become a lot more jank, if you will. Or just more complicated.
3 JP at a time.
3 JP for RNG manip.
Yeah, this is why the grind outside of Whistlewood is particularly bad with Honnet.
You could probably tell why we weren't so excited to run Honnet.
The rest of the run is cool. The rest of the run is cool.
Honet's a really cool route.
The start is terrible.
It's only Whistlewood that kind of just there's nothing much you can do about it, but overall Honet's still a really cool route.
Yeah.
And thank you to all the donors who donated to the single story Bidwar. Y'all went in.
It was really
Yeah,
nice
there's a bunch
to
of money.
see
Let's go.
all the support. You might have saw earlier, quadraaceps did a save and quit. If you save and quit back to the tile screen and then just reload the save, that will reset the set counter. You can avoid the encounters. I think that's the only... Okay, we'll use it one more time, coming up in a couple of minutes, and then another time in chapter 4.
Yeah, the next like 10, 15 minutes or so for this is pretty much dedicated to exploration, since they need to gather a lot of supplies and recruit some characters. So they'll be recruiting Tressa and Darion. We'll be recruiting only Tressa and Darion for this, since Tressa, for reasons, since she's a merchant, merchants are the most overpowered class in Octopath, especially for single stories. And so she'll be extremely useful because which we'll explain later, since she has quite a few utility things, and Darion will also be very useful too, since we can make use of his special ability to get a lot of money.
Yep. I think in the meantime, though, we can take a couple donations, if there are any.
Yeah. We actually have $25 from our last runner, Mango Punch, with the great Resident Evil 3 run. Mango said, I feel like I got too lucky with only 7 turbo zombies, so I'm doubling the donation amount. Thank you once again to the ESA team for allowing me to participate in such a great event. Best of luck to the rest of the runners. Donation goes towards the air control 100% incentive. We actually aren't that far off from that incentive. Let me see where we are. We are only, what is this, $17 away?
Oh,
$37 away? Yeah, you could definitely do that, chat. We can get that in one more donation. If you do donate that $37, you'll actually be entered into a whole mess of things. The main top donation you'd be entered into, the top raffle you'd be donating to, would be the ViewSonic Elite Monitor VX2705 2KP. Beautiful monitor donated from our friends at ViewSonic. So you'd be entered right into that raffle with a $37 donation.
So I just got really lucky. My bad luck in Whistlewood paid off. To get
Wait,
good
did you
not
get
reload?
the YOLO run?
No, I didn't reload. This screen is like just barely short enough that you could potentially get it without an encounter. So we usually do the save and quit, but with one character, sometimes it's faster to just save, and then if you get the encounter, to die, because it's going to reload you right at that save anyway. But sometimes you high roll and you get through the entire screen without an encounter and save 20 seconds. So it's pretty good.
Hey, anytime save you can get. We're gonna have to call it the Sunny Special here, getting all of these
2 times in a
YOLO
row.
runs.
Yeah, Sunny hit that in practice as well, and it's a really low chance to get that.
Yeah, so you see on the Quadra side, we're done. He went to a bunch of places. He went through. He went to get the Merchant Shrine. He grabbed a couple Soul Stones, which we'll explain later, and he went and tagged Grandport and went to Lock of the Lost King to get some items. So this part of the exploration thankfully doesn't require Therion, but so that's why we opt to do that first. And then now that he has completed it, now he's gonna be on his way to get Therion.
Yeah, Therion is the thief of this game. He can steal items from NPCs, which is not too useful in this run. But his other ability is also really useful in the sense that there are purple chests that are kind of scattered throughout, and only Therion can open those purple chests. And a lot of times they have really good items, and particularly money for this run.
Yeah, basically the trio of Therion, Cyrus, Tressa was like the backbone of every single story when we were running 4 character routes. But when stuff got pared down to 3 character, Cyrus just got the axe because he is the least useful of the useful characters.
Yeah, Hana can get to the Scholar Shrine without a problem, so that's why we kind of cut Cyrus out of here. Since she, as mentioned before, we can get to the Scholar Shrine and get Evasive Maneuvers without the need to get Cyrus. Though the other 3 character routes, aside from one other one that we won't say, well, is can't skip Cyrus, but thankfully their routes are also much smoother, even with Cyrus around for different reasons.
Yeah, it just turns out his skill set really isn't needed in this run. He doesn't really bring too much to the team.
Yeah. By the way, we are grabbing Therion before Tressa. For the longest time, we just grabbed Tressa first, just because we're kind of just used to grabbing Tressa as soon as we can, because Tressa is just really, really good. But it turns out if we do Therion first, we can actually save on a medium soulstone. And it doesn't really, and I believe it's a little faster as well. Speaking of soulstones, though, I guess we can explain that now. Soulstones are items that you can just chuck at enemies to do a fixed amount of damage. They come in small, medium, and large sizes. So the bigger the stone, the more damage they do. The large one does a lot of damage, as you just saw in that Therion fight. And they also come in different elements, so like fire, ice, lightning, whatever. So we're going to need to grab a lot of them for Honnet's run specifically, both to clear chapter 1s, as well as to use in Honnet's provoke fights in her stories in her story chapters later on.
Yeah, in Honnet's story fights, that the mandatory ones that she has to do, unfortunately, she doesn't have access to her normal attacks or abilities. She only has access to items and beast, and they're pretty decently high level, so Lynn's not going to really do anything nor will the foxes be doing much, so we go for the next best option, which thankfully we can use items, so we throw a lot of soul stones.
Yeah, I think Honnet is the second fastest single story right now, partially due to like the way her chapters are laid out. She has to go to a lot of areas that we want to go to anyway. So like in particular, we've already went to Stoneguard. Stoneguard is like a hub for large soul stones. Her chapter 4 is in Marcelem, and Marcelem just has a lot of free money, free soul stones, and some gear that we're going to wind up needing. So her chapters are just really well laid out in terms of like speedrun potential.
Yeah, so you see you see that the route's also taking advantage of pretty much ending spots to pretty much make use of the most optimal tagging. So we take this time after getting there on to tag Still Snow, which is another chapter 2 town, or the Honnet's chapter 2 town, and now we're gonna go grab Tressa, who is the most overpowered character for lots of reasons. So
yeah. So first of all, she's a merchant. Merchants, as we alluded to before, are a ridiculously good class, and especially speedrunning. They just offer many different skills that have a lot of really good utility. The main one that we're interested in is hired help. Hired help is a skill where you kind of pay other people to do damage for you. There are different sort of tiers of hired help you can buy. And generally, the more expensive, the more money you pay, the more damage you get. And there's different weapon types associated with those attacks as well. The highest tier costs 30,000. It's called Veteran Soldiers, and it just does a ton of damage for us, and it's going to be the main source of damage for the run. And then there's also other categories within hired help that are not strictly for damage, but they still are really, really useful for us.
Yeah,
Can I jump in here and just mention that we just broke $21,000?
Let's go.
Hooray.
let's go.
Hey.
That's like
Let's
half of the second best number.
Let's get to that. Yeah.
Get there.
I mean,
we got time.
Thanks for everyone for donating.
Thank you for the donations.
Yeah, y'all are
You wanna
awesome.
You want to talk a little bit about the cause that they're donating to?
I would love to. So all of your donations are going directly to Save the Children. Save the Children helps children living in conflict or emergency situations, such as natural disasters or major pandemics, who are even more vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and violence. Save the Children helps children who are moving across borders, living on the streets, or in refugee camps.
Yeah, that's a really nice cause. Thanks for sharing.
21,000 raised for that. Let's go.
Very nice. Speaking of money, Tressa also has some other really good abilities. So her path action is purchase, which lets her buy items from the NPCs. It's really good because we do go to some late game towns. So those late game towns have NPCs with some really good items that we can buy. And in addition to that, those hired help and purchase both require a lot of money. Well, Tressa has another ability called Eye for Money, which will just passively add money to our wallet as we walk around the world. So kind of that will feed in and help out a little bit with all the money that we're going to be spending during this run.
She takes money from dead corpses.
They're unfortunate souls. You see on the top left, it says Tressa spotted. However, money left behind by an unfortunate soul. You can interpret that however you want.
I mean, I think they're dead people. You know, she's a very opportunistic merchant. I mean, the skill set.
But yeah, you can see why having Tressa is just just so good for both the money route and in single story runs like Haunted, also for the stone route, because it's a very stone intensive single story.
Yeah, so you'll notice Quadra actually went back to Grandport. He didn't explore like the entirety of Grandport since he wanted to come here with Tressa because there's going to be a couple items that he's going to be looking to purchase here. I believe you'll be purchasing some soul stones here. Since you actually need specific soul stones for Haunted, for her, for Provokes, and then he's going to buy some pomegranates as well here.
Yeah. So I got really unlucky with encounters, and I'm going to have to take an extra one here. So Therian has enough for armor corrosive. Feels good, man.
Wait.
That can happen?
Yep, that can happen. Welcome to Haunted.
I've never seen that.
Wait, now I'm scared. I don't think Therion has enough for.
Yeah, Claude just says paranoid.
Did you get the two
to
birds?
27.
Wait,
The two birds.
I got the
did
two
you
red
get
birds
surprised
as
by
well.
them? Did you get surprised by the birds?
No.
Wait, no, Therion should always have enough for armor corrosive because you're
Nope.
picking up second.
No, you can get really unlucky and him just not have enough. It can happen.
Wow.
Yep. It's
Today I learned.
fun. That's okay.
Today I
You can pick up
learned.
an extra M stone in Grandport, and it's not a big deal. That game knowledge.
But interesting fact. So Grandport wasn't actually in the original Haunted free character route. So the original free character route for Haunted was developed by a runner known as Ank. So shout outs to Ank. Ank really laid the foundation for this current route, the most updated route that we're using right now. And originally the route didn't go to Grandport, but in this route we go to Grandport. And the reason for that is because we can actually purchase stones in Grandport. So it just makes sure that we always have enough stones for the rest of the run. Otherwise, we would have to rely on another skill known as Endless Items, which gives you a 25% chance to save stones when you use it. And depending on how many stones you save, you have to kind of adapt your Chapter 4 fight accordingly. But since we go to Grandport, we have enough L stones. We don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, shoutouts to Ank and Mamgar. They were running 3-character before it was cool. So they were really like the pioneers of the 3-character routes for single stories.
As well as Lost Core. So Lost Core developed
Lost Core
a
too.
very original Therion 3-character route. So Therion was the first character to receive a 3-character route, then I believe Tressa, then Haunted, then Ophelia. And then there's been other routes that have been born since then, but unfortunately they're not very marathon safe.
Yeah. Alphen has a 3-character route.
You should say
But you kind of need some kitty. Or you could do Derelict Meme, which is arguably worse.
Yeah, so Quadra finished his exploration portion, and now he's going to teach some skills. He's going to teach Leg Hold Trap, as well as hired help for Haunted. Therion gets to learn Armor Corrosive, and Tressa learns hired help. So you guessed it. So hired help is a skill that you spend money to have a different sets of soldiers. There's 5 different tiers to kind of attack your enemy for you. So basically, it's a pay to win game.
Yep. Unfortunately, we can't use it in these fights. These are provoked fights, so she can only use her animals or items. So we're gonna use items.
Yeah, Haunted doesn't get a cheat, unlike Ulbrich.
Yeah, Ulrich can use his skills in his challenges. So he says he fights with honor and then pays a bunch of people to fight for him.
That's because his wallet is unbending, just like his sword.
His credit card is unbending.
Yeah, so this particular person is only weak to fire. In the original 4-character route, you would actually get Cyrus would actually get you a second fire L-stone from that you can scrutinize from Arsenal, but since we don't have Cyrus, we have to get another replacement soul stone or set of stones, so we use an extra, I believe, extra L stone and M stone or an S stone to make up the difference.
Yeah,
and you did
so-
see we bought that fire L, but unfortunately when you start Haunted, you can't buy it.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the nice things about Cyrus is that he actually did give you extra resources, but it just happens that Cyrus's story is Cyrus's chapter 1 is just really slow, and then on top of that, every time you get into an encounter with Cyrus, his passive ability Study Foe reveals a weakness of the opponent, but also takes 2 seconds to do that. So
Yeah. Every single
encounter-
battle.
yeah, every single battle you just lose 2 seconds, and that kind of adds up.
But you gotta know their weaknesses.
Important.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
It's important to know.
It's really good casually, but when you have the wonders of the internet,
Or
It's
game
a little-
knowledge.
Yeah, or thousands of hours in the game.
oh well, I have the internet.
Yeah, so we get the thankfully the second one's pretty simple. It's a very angry tree. We just throw a light L and then 2 M stones at it, and it goes basically bye bye.
So now quadraaceps is going to be going over and facing the chapter 2 boss. His name is Lord of the Forest. He looks like a giant deer. This fight is pretty straightforward for the most part. It can get a little bit dicey if you get a really bad turn order, but it's almost always fine.
And yes, as you notice, this is also a pretty chonky boss.
Yeah, I think this boss has the most HP out of all chapter 2 bosses.
It has around 46,000 HP, whereas most chapter 2 bosses would have around 30k HP.
Yeah, so here you're going to see hired help. This is the veteran soldiers that we're hyping up.
Yeah, so you see right off the bat with Armor Corrosive, it's dealing 5k damage a hit.
And that's unbroken too, although he is weak to it, so it's going to be increasing it a little.
Yeah.
Tressa there used bandits, which is the second cheapest option, but it is an axe attack, and it's really, really useful.
Yeah, you might be wondering why we use bandits there, even though Hanet has an axe herself, or you can just use mercenaries, which also breaks Lord of the Forest. Well, it happens that the last 900 or so damage you get from bandits actually lets you deal enough damage to kill Lord of the Forest, so that's why we use bandits there.
And that's Lord of the Forest down for Quadra.
Yep.
Now, even though Sunny's still not 2 minutes behind, there's still a lot that can happen because this next chapter that's going to be coming up is pretty infamous.
Everyone's favorite chapter.
Yeah, the run doesn't start until you get to chapter 3, pretty much.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 is just a whole maelstrom of
There's a lot of
can
things
go
that can
wrong.
happen. Yeah. So it's going to be in still snow. Basically, the first thing we're going to do in chapter 3 is a provoke against this guy named Alake. And on turn 2, he can use this attack called Panic Slash. Panic Slash has a small chance to confuse Haunted. And basically, you don't want to get confused because if you get confused and you get unlucky enough, you can die.
Yeah, and if you die, you get sent back all the way back to Stone Guard before completing the chapter.
Or if you
so-
reload that save.
Yeah.
Normally, when you die in this game, you just game over, you reload the last time you saved, and you move on with your life. But because this is a provoke fight, if you die, you don't game over, you just lose a little bit of reputation in town. But the bad thing is that you already used stones in that fight, and those stones are just gone forever. So you either have to go find stones or you just reload the last save. And as Senjin was saying earlier, if you didn't do any manual saving, the last autosave is all the way back in Stone Guard.
I'm dead.
Oh,
I'm dead.
that's a bad RNG turn order.
All right, Alaic, you need to pull some weight here. Make Quadra waste 2 minutes. Let's go.
Alaic is now Sunny's best friend.
Fortunately, there's a backup. There's a backup Shadow M here. I only tossed one Shadow M, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you only toss one shadow, and that's pretty convenient. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Until he kills you again. Haha.
Oh no.
And don't.
Yeah. Oh, and Hana's also at 1 HP, so she
Yeah.
does need to get healed, so she doesn't just instantly die again.
Okay, but if I die again, I'm gonna have to reload my save.
Hopefully, we don't get any bad mojo turn orders here. Oh, this turn order
All right, there we
not
go.
looking ideal. Oh, that's good.
Oh no.
Your
This is the
bad,
worst
your
order
bad
for this turn
mojo.
order.
Oh, that turn order.
Oh
is
my
unfortunate.
goodness, that turn order.
Yeah, so I gotta hope these guys don't kill my Therian or Tressa.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
we're
have
good.
enough to
We're good.
survive one hit, but you can't survive both hits.
Yeah, so that's like the worst case scenario of Lord of the Forest, and it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah, we forgot to mention too, but we taught there on Armor Corrosive because what Armor Corrosive does is that it makes the enemy take 1.5 times more physical damage. Because vets deal a good amount of damage, but vets, when you get put Armor Corrosive on the vet with it starts dealing like pretty sky high damage.
Yeah. Armor Corrosive is basically essential.
Yeah,
By the way,
it
this screen
relies
at
on
Quad is
multipliers a lot.
Oh, we
Okay,
got
Quad
the-
got a decent encounter.
Oh no. Yeah,
Oh.
so this screen that Quadra's running through is pretty infamous for lots of encounters because it's a pretty long screen and you're pretty likely to get encounters.
Yeah, there's a lot of different encounters you can get, but depending on the turn order, breaking them can be kind of dicey.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yep. So, yeah, Sunny's starting to catch up now. So yeah, like we said, even though Sunny had a really bad Whistle and had to basically take a lot of extra encounters, he's pretty much catching up.
Yeah.
And
The
it's still
RNG
anyone's game.
Yeah, in a race setting, the RNG should even out over the course of the run. So
Did you get an extra soul stone, Sunny, since you had to use the extra one?
I bought one in Grandport.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. We skipped it on the second try. Yeah, that screen is really long, and the save point is inconveniently located at the end of the screen. So you kind of
It's
just have to run through it and hope you
one
don't
of the
die.
worst screens of all time.
It's probably the worst screen out of all single stories.
Yeah, the encounter rate is just so high on that screen.
Yeah, if you can skip that encounter, that's huge.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Basically required for world record at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the category is really optimized with this route. But inside the forest, you can still get an encounter. It's pretty uncommon, although it does happen from time to time. This boss, though, is also pretty good for the most part. The only thing that can go wrong is that it's technically a damage range, so there's a chance that you don't roll enough damage, and there's nothing you can do about that. But it is pretty rare.
So conveniently, this is pretty cool. It just kind of lines up that all the stones that we need to throw are at the bottom of the menu. So you can just see I'm just chucking the bottom stone without even seeing what stone I'm chucking.
Looks like Sunny got through the lake fight pretty nicely.
Also, as you guessed it, Dragon is also pretty chunky. It has a lot of HP and defenses, so even with all of these, you still might, if you get unlucky, you might not hit the damage range.
Yeah, you pretty much only don't hit the range if you hit every hit of your vets hits a 59. If you get a couple of 6,000s, you're generally good to go. The range is really unlikely to not hit. So it's not really something that we play around. We just have to take the L if we don't hit it, unfortunately.
Alright, so Sunny doing the sell menu here for
I'm a little
to
bit
sell all the
behind on money.
items, and the most important item, aka the herb of revival, which Sunny got. Yeah, so since Sunny had to buy the extra soulstone, he's a little bit behind on money, but generally that's not a big deal since if anything else, he can just do the good old run around the area with Tressa since she naturally generates a lot of money. So her money generation is based on the area tier and then running around it. So like in high level areas, she gets a lot of money.
Sunny getting ambushed by this encounter. That bear is just very evil.
Yeah, the bear can wipe your party very, very quickly.
Yeah. Do not be deceived by its playful nature.
That bear looks playful.
Yeah. Soft and cuddly. Come on.
Yeah, it's a bear. Your friendly neighborhood bear.
I guess it just wants to give us a hug, huh?
Oh, elementals.
Oh, that is actually the worst encounter.
Yeah. Elementals you can't actually break unless you I ambushed anyways.
No, you can't break them.
Yeah,
You can't break them.
If you get the elementals, you just you die. Hopefully
Just-
you die fast, which you don't because their animation takes 3 hours.
Yeah,
They have an AoE attack, but
I think they
never
only
use
use it the second turn.
yeah.
Yeah, even though Quadra's in Chapter 4, there's still a lot that can happen.
There's a lot that can happen.
Yep.
This Haunted Chapter 4, these screens that he's about to do are not that safe. You can get encounters on some of them. Interestingly, I guess we could talk about this. So they're running on PC version. There's also for the Nintendo Switch and Xbox. So in general, PC is going to have much faster load times than the Switch. And that's noticeable in pretty much every area, but it's especially noticeable in this particular dungeon. Screen transitions on PC take a few seconds. On Switch, like this screen transition he's going into right now, it takes a solid 15 seconds on Switch. It is unbearable.
Yeah, I think there's some pretty intense graphics. Cool graphics going on.
I think they're loading like an entire part of the dungeon, but it only shows, we can only access like a small part of it in that particular area.
It also just looks very fancy. Look at all the sand, like kind of smoke effects.
Yeah, this is Octopath being pretty.
And so hopefully Sunny's arrived at the dragon. Hopefully Sunny can get the damage range. It's pretty rare to miss the damage range, but...
You knock on wood.
Who's there?
The bear's here for...
The bear's here. Oh, he's gonna give me a hug.
Yep.
Just a minute. So Claudia's heading into the Red Eye fight. By the way, plot-wise, Hana is trying to hunt down... She's a hunter, so she's hunting down this beast called Red Eye. Her master was assigned to it originally, but he got turned to stone by it. So she's going to go slay it to rescue her master and also to just fulfill that quarry. This fight is the most complicated single-story boss fight in Octopath. And he gets an encounter.
Ooh, that's bad RNG,
No,
but
it's good.
yeah.
It's good for Sunny.
It's bad RNG for Quadra, good RNG for Sunny. So yeah, it's pretty common to get an encounter here, especially if you take the save point and don't reload, but thankfully since he made the save, he's able to next time get to Red Eye. But anyways, well, let's get into this Red Eye fight here. So, and yes, Red Eye is easily the most complicated because A, its weaknesses change. B, so it has 3 sets of weaknesses that change every single turn. So each runner has to kind of keep turn of quite a few scripts, and they have to kind of like be able to find out which turn they broke on. So each script can kind of differ based on which turn they broke on. So they have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You can see me just instantly forfeiting because Hanet died, and that's a lose condition.
Yeah, on turn 1, Red Eye has 2 actions.
Oh, there we go.
One action is regular attack, one action is Rend. Regular attack kills Tressa and Therion, but Haunted can survive it. Rend kills everyone. Quadra actually gets one of the best turn orders. He got 5 hit rate of arrows.
Wow, that's
Oh wow, way to go, Quadra.
Alright. Quadra is pretty much won this,
yeah.
assuming he bought Herb of Revival.
Did you buy one, Quadra?
Yeah, I did.
We'll find out.
Looks. I do see it in your inventory, so good job. It's an easy item to miss.
Yeah. So basically, coming into this next turn for Quadra, Red Eye is going to be doing an AoE attack that has a chance to stun. Therion and Tressa are going to avoid it completely with a Merchant Skill Sidestep. And we specifically build Haunted so that she can survive this. So as long as she doesn't get stunned, it's an auto win. If she does get stunned, if she already got leg hold up the turn before, then we're good. And otherwise, the only lose condition after breaking is if you could not leg hold when he was broken, and Haunted goes first, and Haunted gets stunned. But that didn't happen, so Quadra is in pretty smooth sailing. The other small thing about this fight is that you need to get Red Eye below half health by the end of the second break, because if you don't, he's gonna just do another AoE attack. It's wipe the party.
Yeah, so you'll see here, like now that he's under 50%, he's very angry, and thankfully, since he's angry, he doesn't really do anything. So we just take this time to pretty much break Red Eye here on the next turn. So he's gonna fully boost his attack here, and then break with Haunted, and then more set of armor corrosive, some pay to win money, and some more soul stones, and that's basically Red Eye.
GG's, Quadra.
GG Quadra.
GG's. Time for him will be after the second cutscene after the boss fight. If we're keeping track of that.
Yeah, so there are 2 cutscenes after this fight. When the bar of the second one fills out, then that's time. So one more after this, and time.
GG.
GG, Quadra.
All right.
Very nice.
What was the time?
50 something.
Yeah, about 50 something.
50, 51.
Yeah, Sunny's actually wasn't far behind. There could have been a lot more horrible things that happened. The Quadra got its second try, I believe, which is actually pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. most Haunted runners will take that.
So yeah, like I said, the original route actually was different. So I already mentioned like Grand Ports. We didn't used to go to Grand Port. The Red Eye fight for the original route was also different. So basically, we would use Haunted as the merchant. And with Haunted as the merchant, you were basically required to always break Red Eye on the first turn in order to win. And that was not very consistent. So with this new route that uses Therion as the merchant, you can actually break Red Eye on the second turn and recover, and still have a very good chance to recover the fight from there. So it makes the Red Eye fight a lot more consistent, and yeah, it's just a lot more pleasant to run to do this Red Eye fight.
Yeah, there's just a lot more skill expression with the 3 character routes. Like you're able to react to different situations and figure out like what the best way to do things is.
Yeah, this fight definitely takes a lot to learn, but once you know it, it's very satisfying to be able to recognize, oh yes, this is the situation, and this is what I need to do to win.
Yeah. So like the rest of the run, Red Eye is also being mean to me.
I think the game's trying to tell you something about all those all that moonstruck coast skips that you've been doing.
Yeah, you can't get a good RNG all the time.
Unless you're Sunny and you're going for record.
Yeah, so Sunny has been kind of grinding some categories to try to get some good times in all the different categories. He was learning this specific route, and he basically got second place on the leaderboard on his second day of the category. It would have been world record if his controller didn't have like connection problems in the middle of it.
Yeah, you can see the run stop randomly for 20 seconds at a time. It's great.
So
I would have gone world record if it wasn't for this meddling controller.
Quadraaceps like planted in some interference. Quadraaceps is the world record holder, by the way. So it's like first and second.
Yeah, but Sunny's not too far off, and honestly, Sunny's run would have been mine if
both runs are like equally like good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Red Eye not dealing the
No,
good
he's
number
not-
to Sunny.
Not cooperating. I think if we don't get it in the next like 2, he'll probably just mercy rule it.
I can jump in with some donations to try to bring some of that earlier RNG
Yeah, go
back
for
to
it.
you.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
go ahead.
So I've got a bunch of love for Octopath here. $50 from the 11th Joker. Absolutely adore Octopath. Rooting for my girl Tressa and her hired helpers. Got $55 from Moguk. This, meaning Octopath, is one of my favorite Switch games, so I'm happy to see it in the marathon. Here's to saving the children and getting some of these incentives met. And $5 from X Creations. Just wanted to donate because at least my best boy I donated for is still going to be part of the run.
Oh no.
Here's a shout out to Therian.
It's really nice. Thanks for the donations.
Yeah,
So
thanks for
yeah,
donations. That was a throw.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier with the weaknesses changing every turn. It's really hard to keep track of. That's okay.
It's still win-hildable. I believe.
yeah, the Bidwar actually was pretty close until like I think someone donated a whole bunch of money for Hanet, and then Hanet just kind of flew ahead. But basically, Therion and Tressa were also pretty close. Unfortunately,
Oh,
not
that's
much there
very
for
good.
Oakley.
Order.
Nice.
Very nice.
I'm not actually watching Sunny's run. I could go and
Yeah. He just broke Red Eye. And he's
Nice.
gonna be able to get a leg hold up, so
there we go. A 30-second advertisement.
You gotta pay a quadrant. Come on.
yeah. Get him that ad revenue.
Alright, this should be winnable.
Yeah, this is a win. Sunny bought the Urban Revival, so even if Hanet gets stunned here, it'll be fine.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can happen in this fight, and it gets pretty crazy.
Very nice. And there should be a win as long as nothing bad happens.
Yeah, once you start like recognizing the patterns of this fight, then it gets remarkably easier. It's just about recognizing which patterns are recoverable and which patterns are auto losses.
Yeah, the first and second turns of Red Eye pretty much decide how it's gonna go. And yeah, it's a bit of an arduous task to remember all the weaknesses, because there are some similar weaknesses, so fun fact, the Red Eye always has weakness to light.
Oh yeah, 'cause he's a dark being. Look at him.
Yeah, very menacing.
Yeah, looks like he's gonna cross you. So he's setting up for the final break. Do a little more armor corrosive and
Oh, Sunny almost going to bow there.
Oh my goodness, you scared me there, Sunny.
he likes to
do
keep
all
us,
attack.
yeah, keep on our toes.
Overall, I don't think I played bad. The game does
The
that.
Whistlewood was very
Oh, it was
mean.
brutal. That was brutal.
Whistle was mean to everyone.
Yeah, the whistle
I
word.
did play bad.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Spoke too
Sunny.
soon.
Oh,
All right, we're gonna have to mercy rule that. We're just gonna pretend that I died right there.
600 leaves short.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's all a relic of having to buy the Grand Port M Stone because Therian didn't get enough JP. So yeah, we'll call it there. That was basically what I did.
GG, Sunny.
alright. He won at our hearts.
yeah, I think that'll wrap it up. If you're interested in speedrunning Octopath Traveler, please pop into the Discord. We all are always want to see new runners.
It's a really fun speedrun. There's many different categories you can run. There's single story routes, half game routes, full game routes. There's all side stories, which is the doing literally everything.
It's the best category ever.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good resources to learn as well. It's a really good first speed game too if you've never done a speed run before. Yeah.
And the community is really good, always willing to help. So yeah, shout outs to the Octopath community, really. It's a really nice bunch of people.
Yeah.
GG's Quadra. It's a good race.
GG Sunny.
And GG's to the both of you. That's a very good showing. Thanks Whistlewood for being rude.
For trolling.
And thanks ESA for having us. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
that was great. And I mean, while that run may not have ended the way you wanted to, the Octopath community really showed out $1,100 for that bid war. So I mean that really helps. We also
That's incredible.
met our air control incentive as well. Thanks to a $37 donation from Lee and a couple of other donations in here. So the Octopath community really showed out. It really proved that you guys really do have a great community going there.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for donating too.
Thank you so much for the donations.
Y'all were awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. All right, so next up we have Ratchet and Clank going commando. Ratchet and Clank going commando. Woo. So stick right here. We'll be right back.